Hello and welcome to Confessions of a Successful Leader, hosted by me, Andrew Tallents, the self-coaching expert. In each episode of the show, we hear the insightful confessions of a successful leader who wants to inspire others to live their professional and personal dreams. I am always keen to hear your feedback, particularly in relation to the kinds of leaders you would like me to invite onto the show in future. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rich insights from our special guest. Hello and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Successful Leader, hosted by me, Andrew Tallents, the self-coaching expert. I'm delighted that Stephan Röß has joined me in the studio today. Stephan, welcome.
Thank you, Andrew, for the invitation, and welcome to speak with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing your story today. People have seen this podcast before, and we always get to know our guests to begin with. So just tell us a little bit about who you are and where your current focus is.
Yeah, I'm a guy of the automotive industry in Germany. I'm sticking there 25 years on electronic and automotive industry. And 2.5 years ago, I developed our own startup with a co-founder, what is called AI Charge Technologies. And there I'm the CEO of AI Charge Technologies. We are focusing completely on sustainable charging of electric vehicles. Therefore, we have a charging point operation management, what is in serious production now in one of our cities in Regensburg. And we also have developed wall boxes and charging poles, what will be released in the next year, or the broadcast is released in 2025, therefore released in this year. Therefore, stay tuned about our great solutions in sustainability. And of course, there's a lot of AI in. Where is my main focus? General in the automotive industry in the past, we developed a really cool new solar optimized charging, what will revolutionize the EV charging industry. There we are on the table with the most important players in Germany, and I think we can revolutionize the market a little bit, and therefore I'm really happy to have developed this. And this is my more or less my current role, fully 100% in AI charge technologies now. Having little bit an university background also in parallel, what I'm doing. I released a lot of books, but this is coming really too low due to the fact as an CEO of also a small startup, you are really 24/7 busy.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing. It's such a fascinating industry that you're at the heart of. I've got an EV and I've got my own views around where, the infrastructure is for that. So we may talk about that later. But I want to find out a little bit more about the person behind the CEO. So you've told us professionally what it is that you do. So when you're trying to maintain this balance for your own well-being, because it's an important bit of a CEO, what do you do outside of work? What kind of hobbies and interests do you have outside of work?
My complete life, I'm doing a lot of sport. And I think this is the most balance what I have, doing every time sport in the nature. I play golf, I go skiing, and I drive wakeboard. Therefore, a lot of difference perhaps in sport life, perhaps for some people more relaxed. But this is giving me the most balanced. Sport is the relaxing point in my life. Enjoy to stay there with friends a lot, but of course friends and family are also the second topic, what giving me the balance in the daily business.
Thank you. Thanks for that insight. So let's take you back, Stephan. So this all talks about, the confessions of a successful leader. We were shaped in our childhood in terms of what gave us that leadership capability, which is part of who we are as we grow up. So take us back to your childhood and tell us about those early experiences.
Yeah, if you perhaps ask my mom, she will tell you my son is hating to lose. If he is playing board games, and then we did it really a lot in the family with brother, mom, and dad. We played a lot of board games, card games, and I hate to lose. This will drive you a little bit to the perfectionism. And this, of course, you learn to play better, perhaps, and similarly in sport. Yeah. more happy to win than you try to getting better and better by learning and practicing. And I think I did this in each topic what I like to drive in my life. There I spent 200% of my energy in. And perhaps this is coming also to my mathematical thinking. This is my mom is meaning. He thinks in each game what is the best strategy to win. In the most, especially board games, there is only mathematics behind it. And this was the win situation in my school. But in general, you have the skill that you are really every time focusing what will or can be do and done perfectly. And once times in your life, you will realize you will not have the time to fulfill all perfectly and to find the time to spend it. And I think this is every time a trade-off in life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And can you remember back then, who were your role models as you were growing up outside of the family? Sometimes it's our parents, and that's okay too. But who were your main role models that were inspiring you back then?
The role model, I think I worked up on the, growed up on the countryside of here in city Herzogenaurach. And this is really also give me a lot of impressions in my life due to the fact here 3 world companies, a lot of CEOs. I think we have in the city 170 nations. And this give me every time a little bit inspiring to do something for a more better role model and learning from the best leaders. Yeah, a lot of CEOs, Adidas, Puma, I know, and getting every time inspired. If there was a really good CEO, then I learned a lot of things from them, but also the bad CEOs, there you can learn also things. And this was really good in also in my childhood that I have really good contacts to a lot of interesting persons here in the region. You know, Herzogenaurach is a little bit growing city for innovation if you have 3 world companies created. And then therefore this was little bit the role modeling to learn perhaps from interesting people.
And can you remember as you were growing up, did you actually have a dream at that time about what you wanted to do with your life, or did that come later on?
I think I was every time interested in technology and perhaps also in software, starting programming as I was 10 years old. And of course, this was every time a childhood dream to create a software company or do something in electronic. And I think I matched it really good. Now I have a software company. I'm producing electronic. We have production companies. We are more like an Apple. Yeah, we are the designers and have partners who produce the wall boxes and then also the charging pillars in the future. But I think this was every time a dream to have your own company. And I think I worked long enough to fulfill this, and now it's looking really great that we can scale up in all cities around the world. Therefore, it's a really great opportunity what you're matching one times, and also the competitors are not so great, so widespread it in this area in the software focus. Of course, hardware there are a lot of competitors, but in this area, yeah. Therefore, I think we can say it was every time a dream to have your own company.
Absolutely. And it's just great to know that you're living the dream. So let's let our audience understand the pathway to that. It's really important, you know, in terms of the journey you've had so far. So let's fast forward a little bit into your teens and 20s. So when you were getting into your work life, how did your childhood shape that early leadership style? What kind of a leader were you in your early 20s?
Yeah, I stepped in quality management, automotive industry with 19 years. And of course, quality management, especially in the customer quality management, you need to talk about the problems. And this was really a challenging time. Of course, I had a good technology background at this time, studied parallel electro technology, but you need to find the balance between perhaps quality and cost sometimes. And you are every time in a trade-off situation with colleagues. And sometimes you have the situation that you cannot come to this perfectionism. What is the real perfect world? Yeah, this is in some cases really not happened. But what I tried to do is really to focus on the topic and not on people in person, who is the responsible person. This I learned really early in quality management. Do not blame departments, do not blame any person. Of course, we are people. And I read a really good book if I was 19 years old, due to the fact I need to learn, of course. And a person doing 60 failures per day. You must be relaxed. Yeah, nobody is perfect. And of course, you need to align perhaps your processes that the people as best as possible in a production, perhaps. Yeah, this is process optimization, and I think it's really, you need to find the balance in communication. This is one of the key in a successful leadership management. You need to get in touch with people. They need to follow you. They need to trust you, and this is, you need to follow fact and figures.
Sure. And can you remember back then, in terms of this attitude for wanting to win and working out how to win generally in life, and also combined with this perfectionism that you described earlier, how did that help you as a leader back then? How was it in service of you progressing as a leader?
I think I was every time, if I look back to Continental Corporate, I was every time a guy who technically deep dive in each topic. For me was the problem, you need to understood the problem 100% or the technology 100% to improve it. And this, I think, I drive with this perfectionism. Yeah, if you perhaps one realized, I trained as a master black belt Six Sigma, thousands of people at Continental. Yeah? And then you realize, what can I do better? I'm really one of the experts on big company in Germany, but what can you do better? Yeah? And then I start 10 years ago with AI, due to the fact AI is only mathematics. Yeah, and 2024 was the year of AI, and in 2020 is really, if you stepping so long in this topic, yeah, then you understood all the technologies behind, and this is really great as a leader if you understood the technologies of your company, and if you can explain how an electric vehicle is working from all the basics, and you have a little bit deep insight in technology and understood your products. And this helped me every time really good to bring people together to work on a problem or on a new topic, and solve this better as perhaps another teams.
Yeah, no, I get that. And when did you find that it started to hold you back a little bit? So that kind of drive and wanting to win and competitive nature, and when did you actually start noticing maybe it's holding you back as a leader?
Yeah. I really realized this really late. If I start my startup 2.5 years ago, then you have the trade-off of your time. You have this corporate job, 35 hours in Germany. But of course, sometimes you spend more time in your topics. And then you think to realize, okay, you cannot do all imperfect. What is your dream to make all people happy, to have best workout, to do not finish anything with 80% or 90%, to drive it to the end. Yeah. And sometimes you realize you cannot do it in both. And then you need also to think a little bit on your own to stay healthy, and do not work 80 hours or more. Yeah. This will kill you more or less in the complete life. You need this work-life balance, as you mentioned, and my minimum is to do 2 times minimum sport in week to find this balance. I really need this to power off. Yeah, and there I find every time this balance in people and also in business.
Now let's talk about mindset, Stefan, because I feel this energy from you. I feel this positivity from you, but we're human beings and we sometimes feel negative, frustrated,
Mhm.
that things aren't going our way. So how do you manage that when you feel those negative emotions that come with, being a CEO in that sense? How do you manage that situation?
I think I'll focus every time on sustainability. I think I decided this already 5 or 7 years ago, that my life will be driven on sustainability. I did a lot in the corporate for analysis. And if you bring ecology, economy, and social aspects together, I think this will be really work in each situation. All works what we did in these cases. We had really great feedbacks. And also in general, you can design the best products. What I learned. If you focus on sustainability, not only on CO2, you need to bring ecology, economy, and social topics together. And then if you realize this dream in your company or where you're working, then I think you can drive the world and change it.
So you decided 7 years ago what your real purpose was going to be
And the
going
day
forward.
I decided I need to focus 100% sustainability with all the technologies, what I'm doing, I have to focus on sustainability. And if perhaps one technology is not so good for sustainability, in my case, there I'm not interested in nuclear energy from my point of view. This is for me, the Germans are so special in the world, but for me it's also the same. Cannot really trust this technology, or also the hype of Bitcoin. I'm not so the person who thinks this is the best system for the world due to the high trade costs and the high energy consumption, what the technology need. I see, of course, tech, blockchain or distributed ledger technologies have a lot of advantage, but in general, there are more sustainability solutions for the same customer value on the end. Therefore, yeah, of course, not every guy is happy and every people is happy with the situations that I am also seeing some points not so optimistic. But I have really the focus and will do improving the world. Make the world to a better place is our slogan on MIT. And after to closing my executive education, this was misled in stone. And especially if you are the mathematical guy who's sitting in the sessions, and there are saying 50 people saying, no, we cannot do it. And I say, yeah, we can do it. And professors say, oh, Stefan, you are right. We can do it.
No.
If you have the good understanding in some complex simulation models, what you're doing, yeah, the Massachusetts guys give me a lot of impression. Of course, this is also an innovation hub in the world. Yeah, if you're going to the innovations hub, you will learn so much things. And yeah, therefore, I try to focus really sustainability underlines this. And AI had a lot of cool advantages in all industry, but of course I'm the automotive guys and I can bring mobility to more cleaner solutions.
Absolutely. So what people will be hearing out there and watching is this: you've had this connection 7 years ago to what you believed and understood was going to be your future impact in the world around this sustainability, providing focus, maintaining positivity mindset. A lot of people wouldn't necessarily have that in their lives right now. It took me to the age of 47 to try and find out what that was. So what advice can you give to people out there that maybe haven't found their purpose yet or their why in terms of focusing on the future, and why did that work for you? So some advice for people out there.
Yeah, I think in perhaps it's every time good to focus in life on the win-win situation. If you can create between two parties a win-win situation, general business is running. And in technologies, similarly, you can create with a lot of technologies win-win situation. And if you're focusing really on this win-win situations firstly, then there you will get the experience. It's interesting what you're doing. You will have good results. You have good communication, and then you can create business on it and try to focus really on to have a benefit on both sides for for all people. Business is done between people, and then you will also be possible to be a great leader. And I think this is the best story what I can tell in general. Yeah, perhaps this is really depends on the situation. Focusing on this win-win is an basic doing where you have every time of the end a win-win situation, and each people will be happy about this. And to explain this perhaps in the terms of sustainability, photovoltaic energy in all countries, mostly over the world, there will be an amortization over years, and this will create a win-win situation in sustainability, meaning you have the ecology topic, you have the economy topic, and you have your social topic that you're happy, and all people are more happy with green energy solutions. Yeah. This is a classical win-win situation, and this makes you happy in life. And if you're happy, open in communication, then general you have good contacts to your teams and to your colleagues, then leadership is not so hard if you're open, focus on true things, don't lose your reputation to bullshit mistakes, what would we call it in Germany. I'm focusing on sustainability, trust, create win-win situations. This is for each people interesting and necessary for our world to making the world to a better place to live. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Stephan. And again, I'm really curious because you've been through this. There'll be people listening to this and watching this where they'll be in a corporate environment now. It may be they're thinking about setting up on their own or with a co-founder with an idea they've got or with a purpose around whatever it is for them. Just talk to us about the challenges that you faced in terms of moving from that corporate environment in terms of your own venture.
Yeah, especially if you create out of automotive industry and automotive company, then of course there is a long history behind. I developed more or less the algorithm in basic theory in my master thesis 2019. Then I won already customers with great companies in Germany listed in the stock market. The CEO was happy with our solutions to optimize solar charging, for electric vehicles. And of course, there is the interaction to the photovoltaic industry, and we need to work together with them. Therefore, I found customers more or less, they are interested to develop this together. But it's really hard to find the management. The first idea to launch this in Continental. More or less discussed 1 year internally. And then I decided, hey guys, the algorithm is developed in my master thesis. Do it anywhere or I will do it by my own. This is the solution what I can give you. And then nobody was interested to spend their money. And then we decided with my partner, Hans-Jörg, we have to found this by our own. Yeah, we was one of the two experts in AI of Continental. We understood the system. We see the potential. But if I discussed with another people, they are focusing on business models. And of course, I can every time calculate business models for the future. But last but not least, you need to have the technology on the table. This was my focus. And therefore, you have a lot of discussion. Then you going to founding and then you create your company. And then, of course, not each people is happy about this, but all the bosses or the general managers, I was aligned. Therefore, they was great. They will produce also for me in the future electronic. Therefore, I think there is no general mismatch. But of course, you have a lot of colleagues who say, "What is this guy doing? He's doing now also automotive business, but we doing." If I work parallel, I do automotive electronic outside of car, and Continental is doing only automotive electronic inside the car. This was more or less the deal for this overhandling. But you need to bring your colleagues on your table that they understood your situation, and you're bringing every time also technology, of course, from the startup in the corporate And the another share, I think there was every time this is a win-win situation for both, due to the fact that if you create a startup, you must be with the nicest technology on the start, and therefore you spend a lot of time. And if you're doing all the power electronic operate, there's every time this win-win situations. Therefore, I think with the most people it was happy, but to clarify this in advance with all your bosses and supervisors, I think this is absolutely essential, especially if you are really not near to the core business of your corporate, what was in our case absolutely the case. Yeah.
And from a self-leadership perspective, so founding your business with a partner with very little resource around you to begin with, apart from obviously your relationships that you have with other partners.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest challenge for you in that first year or so around leading yourself and driving the business forward?
I think the first thing was the development. Development cost more or less two years to develop the software completely. It's now working on 5 clouds. This was the most and biggest challenge for us. Of course, you have your mission and you think it will be coming faster, but to have this both jobs in parallel, and I worked as a competitive intelligence manager, so there I have a lot of topics every day on the time. Therefore, the time management is the second topic where you get in some critical situation when you, if you have in both companies critical situation, yeah, then you are sitting long times in your office and work to solve it, get it done. And this is the second biggest challenge. The time management, of course, is one times not handleable. If your startup coming to running, yeah, then now I have every day customer requests, and therefore I stepped out of Continental, now Schaeffler Group. But yeah, really happy with the situation. But there, of course, there was a lot of challenging time, but general technology is solvable, but need times. And second topic is time management. Also with your people, your co-founder was also more or less in part-time job, and to arrange every time meetings was one of the biggest challenge. Yeah, every week 5 or 10 shifts due to the fact that you have 3 jobs in parallel.
Absolutely. And then going forward, as you see the business develop now over the next 5 years, say, it sounds very exciting in terms of your prospects there. As a co-founder of the business and obviously leader of the business in that sense, what are you going to find most challenging, do you think? What do you think that you know already you're going to need some help or some development in from your own personal leadership?
Not sure where I need to focus on. Yeah, most if I'm getting good feedback from all my teams, if they are happy, and then I say every time have an open communication. If I need to change something, I'm open to do it. Yeah. General, I think we having really an great communication in the teams. Therefore, I think there must be no changes in the next time, and I will also not find the time to go on university again. I have 4 university degrees. I learned a lot of things in life. Getting business running in a bigger scale it's the main focus, making the world more efficient in our case, therefore more sustainable for EV charging. This is really the main focus. Be nice to people every time and create this win-win situation in the future for all people where we are in contact. And then we think it will run and will be really a great story.
I get the sense, Stephan, and you can tell me something other than this, but I get the sense that this is going to be a major part of your life for the next 5 to 10 years, because it's such a big project in terms of where do you end with this? It's not going to stop, is it? You're going to, create it in that sense. So what kind of legacy would you like to leave, do you think, when people look at you and your own personal success? What is it you would leave behind?
I'm not sure what I will do, but I will focus next 5-10 years to AI charge technology. I'm really, really happy with the situation, but really interesting, in 2 weeks, in 2 months, we will have new government in Germany. I talked with a professor today. and he's the top manager also in Germany. And he said, Stefan, we need people in politics. I think, normally I have every time the decision never step into politics. They doing only politics and then not focusing on daily doing, perhaps. Yeah. This is more paperwork. I'm really an engineer. I like also to sometimes screwing. But he said, you were a great person for politics, but perhaps I'm more interested to go in the club of Rome to drive their sustainability. And there is this mismatch. Therefore, if I learned in MIT, of course, if you have the great opportunity to go one of the leading university in the world, then you learn all about the organization institutes, what are existing in the world. And I will only work in an institute what is focusing on sustainability. This is more or less decided.
So I love your focus and clarity. So to finish with, if anybody wants to get in touch in terms of either collaboration or wants to understand more about your plans and how they can support you in the future in terms of resources or investment, what's the best way to get in contact with you, Stephan?
Yeah, of course, we have the internet page, www.ai/charge.com. There you will find all the basic information. And if you do not find it, then write here on the info mail or contact me directly over LinkedIn, anywhere in other social medias. We are more or less now all prepared and is all available. You will find a lot of communications opportunities to me, but if you need the really one important in a short time, write me an email, stefan.röß@aicharge.com. It's not so hard.
Super.
Therefore, you can find me everywhere.
Super. Well, Stefan, I really enjoyed hearing your story today and that passion around focus and this sustainability that's so important to you. And I can see that you're going to put everything into it. So thank you for taking the time out to speak to us. And thanks again for sharing your story today.
Also, thank you, Andrew, for the invitation. I really enjoyed it. Stay sustained.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Confessions of a Successful Leader. You can access all previous episodes of the show at confessionsofaSuccessfulLeader.com. If you are interested in finding out more about conscious leadership and self-coaching, just type in Andrew Tallents into LinkedIn or your favorite browser, and you'll find my contact details and all the content that you need. Until next time, don't forget to stay present, curious, and above all, conscious.